Hello and welcome to Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. I'm your host Ed Charbeneau, and with me, as usual, is my co-host John Bristowe. How you doing, John?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Doing excellent. We are coming at you live. Is Monday, July 20th. We have lots of interesting news articles to chat about. Let's see. Feel free to ask questions in the chat room, by the way. Hello, Curious Tribe. Welcome back. So we've got news from around the web that we're going to kind of share the highlights of and give our opinions on as though they
Yep.
matter.
No shortage of that. Mostly uninformed, of course.
So we got a kind of a fair mix of stuff here this week. First of all, I just want to kind of promote .NETconf. .NETconf is it's a series of online conferences that Microsoft has been doing on the .NET framework. I think they started with Blazor, what is it, earlier this year? Was that this year, like February maybe?
Yeah.
And they've continued with that throughout the year. They've had a Xamarin, and now they're doing a focus on microservices. And that is it's about a week and a half, July 30th, at the end of the month here. So just nine days away. So there's some really good speakers that are going to be part of this, like Julie Learman and Carrie Payette are going to be there. So,
Cool.
of course, Scott Hunter as well. So make sure you
Yeah.
check them out. Jessica Dean, fantastic speaker there too. So, I mean, this is just one packed agenda with lots of great people talking about microservices. So, I can't guarantee it, but if you're a Blazor fan, I'm sure there's probably going to be a tidbit of that in there as well.
Well, the reality is everything's going to use a service in the back end at some point. And judging by Microsoft's performance, if you want to call it that, for build, this should be fantastic. What I mean by that is Build was recently a virtual event, and they crushed it. They did a really good job of a virtual event. Most virtual events right now suck, and I think Microsoft's got the right formula. I don't know about you, but did you watch the WWDC by Apple, the virtual event? That was creepy.
Did.
That was really creepy.
Yeah. It was the world's longest infomercial, I think.
Sure. So I think Microsoft's got the right. Yeah, I think Microsoft's got the right balance here of production value plus liveness. So I think this should be no different.
Yeah, the WWDC has lost the D. Is the problem? It's been like that for a couple of years.
It's been that way for a while.
Build can get a little bit like that as well. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's not as far off base as WWDC has gotten.
Right. Unless you're targeting Swift. That's the only thing they talk about, really. But
yeah. I mean, there's solid technical content at Build, and WWDC is very much for the authors of blogs and news outlets.
Cool.
But .NETconf, this is actually new, I think, for .NETconf Focus Edition anyway. It's actually a 2-day event. When I was looking through that list of speakers, I thought, hey, that's a lot of folks to have in a day.
Yeah.
That's because it's 2 days. So, you got Cecil Phillip.
Clemens is speaking. Cool.
Julie, James Newton King.
Yep.
You might recognize that name from.
Yeah, he's the guy who created Jason.net.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of really intelligent folks in here. Carrie Payette.
Shane Boyer.
She's from the Ohio areas, and we've done some conferences together and stuff. Yeah, so Carrie's great.
And it's the Rob and Manu show.
Yeah, that's what it looks like the second day. It looks like they're doing a workshop is what it is. So the second day is a full workshop.
Awesome.
So great content. Can't wait to check that out myself.
Yeah.
And if you're new to microservices, now's your time.
And what else are you doing? You're sitting on the couch, right? Like the rest of us at home. Might as well, feed your brain a little bit. Learn something.
Hey, you know what? Throw it up on a TV in the background and do your work. Yeah. And maybe watch the kids,
virtually. Get away. I'm learning about microservices.
Or whatever it is your kids do during the day. Mine sleep most of the summer away, but
there you go.
Watch some .NETconf.
Yeah.
And speaking of things Microsoft related,
could there be more ads on this page?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, this is one of those.
It's like whack-a-mole with ads.
We love you, Mary Jo Foley and ZD.net, but
Yeah, this is a bit.
I guess you guys have to pay your bills too, so we'll forgive you.
Yeah,
Um, this is
creepy.
news that's been rolling out from pretty much every tech outlet today,
Hmm.
because there's some good and bad in here, and this is not only Microsoft planning their single screen Windows 10 experience and dual screen in 2020, but the Windows 10X is it's actually well, it says it's due spring 2021, but I guess it's getting delayed actually. So the plans got pushed back a little bit, I guess, for the dual screen offering, and then Win32 is being dropped, and some folks weren't happy about Win32 apps being dropped from
Oh,
this.
come on, how long
But
have they had to be warned about this coming? You know, this is like
yeah,
people not wanting to lose VB Run, the runtime for VB6 apps, right? You've had forever. Let's go.
so I guess they're looking at maybe hosting those Win32 apps in the cloud via containers,
Right, right.
and that's what's supposed to come in 2022. Which is, I guess, the technical delay that folks were talking about.
Hmm.
So there's some things in here that have made people upset, and then it's also, it's new tech, so it's interesting.
Now, just
That
just help me out here for a second. What's this dual screen thing? I'm not up to speed on this.
So this is supposed to support the new, I want to say Windows Phone, but that's going to leave the wrong impression. A Microsoft phone that is of Android and it runs on two screens. I think that's what it's talking about. So there are
Oh, so
these
it's a
new
mobile
dual
play, not a
screen
desktop.
devices
Right.
that and I need to oh, good. They're not coming up on that screen. Sorry, I've got notifications popping up on a screen here. I was making sure those weren't going out over the air. Um, so yeah, there's some dual screen devices that
Yeah,
Nintendo
yeah.
or that Windows is putting out over the next couple of years here,
Okay.
and they're adding API support to Windows itself and .NET and those things, and it looks like some of that stuff won't hit until Windows 10X is in its 2022 cycle. So
Gotcha.
we'll see what happens there. But then, this is the Chromebook competitor type of OS that they're talking about with this 10X
Hmm.
and all the cloud-based computing stuff. But that's some news that dropped today.
Neat.
And then to kind of round out the Microsoft stuff that um, we have a new Razer editor for Visual Studio that is
Okay.
shipping. This is an experimental editor, so if you want to try it out, you need to be on the latest releases of the preview version of Visual Studio, which I am not using at this moment, because I'm working on some production stuff that I need the full release for right this moment. You can install those side by side, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have the latest bits installed at the current moment.
You're a
So
coward.
I'll probably grab those pretty soon. But if you can, make sure you install the latest version, and then you need to enable, as Dan Roth points out here in the screenshot, you need to
Hmm.
enable that new feature. What's great is if you can test this out, make sure you funnel that feedback back to the ASP.NET team. I heard there's some little hitches and stuff in it. It is like it says in the title, it's experimental, so some
Yeah.
things might not work. I like this graphic though because it shows off exactly how much complexity is
Oh
inside
yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
the Razer Editor. It's a quite complex operation to put together the HTML world with the .NET world and have IntelliSense from JavaScript and C# and CSS all working together in
Yep.
unison in one editor, and it's dynamically popping in and out of different contexts between HTML and C# and so on. So it's a very complex editor. And it's running on some brand new tech
Jeez.
that they're developing. I know, right? This is I don't I envy the folks that can work on this and maintain sanity
Yeah.
because I mean they are better people than I.
Well, there's certainly a separation of concerns here, right? You're recognizing tokens, delimiters, things like that, and then so there's that aspect of it, understanding the language structure. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's the runtime aspects, right? Being able to surface types, type checking at runtime, or rather at design time, rather, through a background compilation process. I remember when Scott Guthrie talked about how they enabled this in the JavaScript environment in Visual Studio. I think he likened it to something being incredibly complex when they implemented that. So the ability to say var x equals 2 or something, and then know that it's, even though it's JIT compiled, to give some syntax support and IntelliSense in the language, turned out to be a monumental event and effort. So I can't imagine what these guys are doing. This is a lot of work as well.
Yeah, if you're listening and not watching, I've got the graphic of like the higher level block diagram of all things that go into the Razer engine or
Yep,
Razer Editor for the IDE. Razer, by the way, the HTML C# templating language. So I always kind of elevated like game engine designers to like the Michael Jordan status of
sure.
like developer people, and I think the the IDE folks
Oh
are
yeah,
right there.
yeah,
Like they're like the Scottie Pippen. Like
yeah.
I better not shout out too many names. The NBA is gonna like come after rights or
Well, you saw
something.
The Last Dance, right?
But
So it's an apt analogy, I think. But I look at those guys; they're like trashing each other. Ray tracing, anti-aliasing, light collision detection. What is this? Grade 8? Try it on my side with Razer extensions. You know,
and then the younger folks are like Scottie Pippen. Who's Scottie Pippen?
it's all good.
So again, like I said earlier, it's experimental, so there's like a pile of known issues at the end
Yep,
here. Make sure you read through those before you kind of funnel your feedback to the folks on the team. But let them know what you think of the new editor and give them some feedback on that
amazing.
stuff. They did a fantastic job with Blazor and taking feedback and integrating it into releases. So I'm sure they'll do the same with this.
Love it.
What do we have here, John? These are some of your links here.
Yeah, so this was an article written by Alex Yates. He is the proprietor of a company called DLM Consultants over in the UK, and he wrote an article for us called "Change Advisory Boards Don't Work." So, a change advisory board is basically a group of people within your organization who are responsible for reviewing changes that may be implemented or checked into your source tree before they go into production. And basically, there's an argument against them. And so, what Alex did here was basically go through the points of why they don't work, why you may want to understand, the initial conception of a change advisory board was seen as a benefit, but in practice, it actually results in less efficiency and less productivity overall. So Alex goes through the reasons of why this is important. This is one of the things that you'll come across if you're looking into the DevOps space. And I thought it was an excellent article, and Alex articulated very well the reasons against them.
Yeah, so I can imagine this is something you like run into a lot of bike shedding and things like that with
Yeah,
yeah. Oh gosh, they even cite one of the banes of my existence here. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act.
yeah.
Oof.
SOX compliance is definitely something that yeah, troubles a lot of people, I think. Not because it's not a it's a bad thing, but more because it's difficult in some cases to implement.
Yeah, so my experience with SOX has been, and this is before I started working with Progress, so this is all like past stuff behind me now, thank God. But we had to do these just horrendous audits on all of our systems that we
Right,
built,
right,
and the purpose behind it was well intended, and the practice was where things fell apart, I think. So we spent like enormous globs of money on consultants to help like do this type of work. So it was
right,
just it was a money drain on the business. And then we had these like ridiculous requirements, like our auditor, um, they felt that we needed to screen capture everything. So automated like printed reports were not good enough.
okay,
So for example, if I wanted to print a data grid of login history and audit history of who's been in and out of the system. That wasn't good enough. He wanted a screen capture of said report because, quote, images can't be doctored.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll let you all just kind of chew on that for a minute because
Sure.
as tech people, we know that is absolute nonsense. I didn't want to go through the process of proving him wrong though, because whatever came next would have been worse. You know what I mean? You
Right.
have printed, you have screen captured, and if that's not good enough, like what hoop are you jumping through to add on to those? Because they're not going to do away with one of those two. You're going to have to do all three of the third thing that he comes up with
Yeah.
to make sure that's a validated process. So it's like standing in front of and taking a photo with the printed out, like, you know what I mean? Today's
Sure.
newspaper along with it. I'm off on a tangent again.
That's fine.
Help me, John. Help me, John. What is this? API improvement proposals.
Yeah, so this is something that I think is interesting. It's basically Google's approach to documenting APIs, and they're called AIPs. And AIPs are basically API improvement proposals. So there's a bit of a circular dependency there on the acronyms. But basically, Google has a number of APIs, and they have design decisions that go into them. And so what they've done is they've constructed this way of writing proposals for API changes. And so if you click on that button that says explore the AIPs, what this does is basically goes through a list of the AIPs that are available. Now, from a technical perspective, it looks very kind of terse and weird and all that. But what they do, if you go back to the main page, is they actually articulate why you may want to utilize these for your own documentation. So there's a link at the bottom there that says, want to use AIPs for your organization? Question mark. And so they basically put these up on GitHub and provide a structure for documenting these. And so it turns out to be really nice because oftentimes documenting APIs is a challenge, to say the least. And so this was something that kind of came across my sort of my wires there. But I did want to mention briefly that, if you're writing APIs today, you probably want to use a tool like Postman. And Postman has some great facilities for doing just this. But moreover, I think Postman provides some really nice capabilities in addition to documenting the APIs, such as being able to test them, being able to auto-generate code that will hit the APIs, et cetera, et cetera. So whilst I applaud Google's effort here, it looks like a repurposing, or I guess a reduping of the sort of work that's been done by others. Now, that may be unfair. I've just looked at this as cursory, but I think Postman actually has an excellent process for doing this. But if you're interested in doing it this way, this is certainly something you can take a look at.
So Postman is a CLI to generate your AIPs for your APIs.
It's yeah, that's clever. It's more than a CLI. It's also UI. So as I've always said, UI or CLI before UI. Sorry, we're getting into a lot of acronyms here, but Postman's a great tool for writing APIs and also testing them.
Excellent. ReSharper command line tools, cross-platform, and global tools.
Right. So, big fan of JetBrains. They provide a number of great tools for .NET developers, and recently they've basically they've been asked by a lot of folks, hey, can we utilize some of your tools in CI/CD environments that are running on, say, Linux, etc. And so what they've done is they provided some of those tools in a cross-platform way. So this is available in their latest early adopter package, and so you can run these shell scripts that will allow you to utilize global tools, and you'll be able to run these tools in a similar manner that you have global tools in the .NET CLI. So these are some tools that you can add to your arsenal if you're targeting environments beyond Windows in the .NET Core space.
.NET global tools are kind of like when you do like npm install -g.
Yep.
And you get your npm tool that's installed globally. .NET can do something very similar to that. Where you have essentially, for lack of a better term, an executable that you can run from the command line. They're pretty easy to build too, which is pretty cool. I mean, easy, relatively speaking, right? The additional work that you have to know in with .NET the learning curve is very short, and you can take your knowledge that you already have about .NET and console applications and easily build global tooling that you
Yep.
can run from the command line. So it looks like
So
they've taken
they have
that.
the tools inspect code, dupe finder, and cleanup code as part of this.
Yeah, they've taken that .NET tools or global tools and ran with it
Hmm.
and added some new features for you at the command line, which is really cool.
Yeah. So instead of running .NET on the CLI, you'll run JB rather, and you can run them, execute them against your code. That's kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah, they have some really handy stuff there with the JetBrains.
Oh yeah.
A lot of folks I know use Rider, which is a
Yes.
huge
Yeah, that's a good
development
alternative to Visual
framework.
Studio.
Mm-hmm. Analyze syslog messages with Seek or Sec?
Seek. Yep.
Seek. Like
So
Seek and you shall find.
yeah, exactly. Seek's a great tool. If you're doing any logging, if you're wanting to view reports of messages that are being captured through your application, et cetera, Seek is a wonderful tool. We actually use it at Octopus Deploy. And what this is an article talking about how you can utilize it through for syslog messages, which is based on an old RFC. And so what they do is just provide you sort of a walkthrough of how you can actually utilize Seek in the context of those syslog messages. The thing about Seek that's really nice is that it allows you to filter these up very, very well. An example of this would be like, say, if I'm running an application that generates a ton of statements, I can actually write queries within Seek to see those statements. And so here we're just, Seek's utilizing that message format and providing a way of querying it very easily.
So it's got, I guess, built-in delimiters for all of this stuff, so it can easily
The
break it
RFC,
down.
yes, does. Yeah, the RFC
Yeah.
has a well-known structure. There's tons of different message structures for this, but basically it's showing you how it will parse that and then provide it through the UI. And then once it's there, you can query it just like a database.
Yeah, what's interesting is, like you said, they're well-known structures, but just by looking at it, it's kind of if it wasn't annotated here, I wouldn't know what's going on.
Yep.
Just because it's a well-known quotes data structure doesn't mean it's human readable by any
No.
means. So it's
No.
nice to have a tool that can help search and decipher these things and you can query against it.
Yeah, we're big fans of Seek. If you haven't used it, this is what it looks like from the UI perspective. But if you haven't used it before, check it out. Definitely worth looking into if you're concerned about getting more insight into your messages. Provides all kinds of data analysis. You can perform queries. It's available as a Docker image, so there's lots of ways to utilize it. So it's a great tool.
And is that like an open source tool? Is it like a commercial thing or
It's a
both?
commercial offering. I believe most of it is open source. Yeah. So it's available up on GitHub, but it is a commercial tool.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take things down seriousness level a little bit.
That's right.
This is really cool. I think this is really cool stuff. So for those listening, this is a 3D book image CSS generator. So it's
Yes.
you explore some knobs basically, and the knobs produce a three-dimensional book image.
Yes.
Do
So
I have
this
that
is
right?
this. Yeah, this is right. So this is if you've ever watched Daily Show back in the day when they have authors on their show, this is the equivalent of that. This is basically providing that sort of three-dimensional book that kind of rotates back and forth. And so this is all generated in CSS, which is awesome. So CSS has a number of, I think CSS3 has a number of transforms built in for three-dimensional transformations, as well as 2D transformations, if you like. People utilize it all the time. And so what they're just doing is providing a UI for basically genning up a book image cover and utilizing those 3D transforms within that context to kind of rotate it slowly left and right.
So we can do a title and an image link. And I'm waiting for this to work. It's
Okay.
not working.
Looks like you got a broken image there. That's all right. Just nuke them all, and people will get the gist of it. I think you need to have a qualified image, or you can say reset with the vaults at the bottom there. Oh, you did.
Oh, here
You
we
broke
go.
it, Ed. Way to go.
It has that one had some HTML in the output. No,
Okay.
that's a legit link. It's not working.
Okay. All right.
Why is it not working? You wrote this.
So yeah. Anyways, underneath they gen out the code for you to basically dump into your markup, and it will output that book for you. So kind of neat. So yeah, it gives you knobs for changing the perspective, the radius, the width, etc. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Thickness. Oh, okay,
that's right. It's a big book. It's my thesis.
In case you've written.
Yeah. It's like if this was a book on the good JavaScript, the good parts. It's amazingly concise.
Here's JavaScript, the good parts.
Then there's JavaScript, the spec.
The rest.
That's right.
It's awesome. The things you could do with CSS these days.
I know. Fantastic.
Never ceases to amaze me. We should make that a running segment here on the show.
Come on. I like TypeScript and JavaScript and all the other scripts.
All the scripts.
I like all the scripts.
Right. So let's see what we have next. All right. So sorry about that. I had a little feedback going here.
That's all right.
It's still doing it. Hang on.
So Ed's going to fuddle around with his internet connection.
There we go. Now I'm back. I think it may have been the 4K of video buffering.
It broke your PC.
So we have 4K Mars video.
Yeah. So we've had a few rovers land on Mars now. We've had Curiosity and others, and basically all the footage has been captured. It takes it in slices, and obviously because of the length, it has to transmit those in packages, or I guess in segments, back to Earth. And what they've done is they've actually regenerated those images in 4K and then made it available through YouTube, because obviously YouTube provides that sort of thing. So if you watch the video, the sort of panoramas you get from these images are incredible. It really does bring to life what Mars actually looks like on the surface. And it doesn't look too dissimilar from maybe parts of Earth, parts of the outback in Australia, very dry. But yeah, it's incredible just watching, those sorts of scenes available on Mars, and gives you a perspective of what Mars is actually like.
This is like watching my sense of humor in 4K. It's very
okay.
Dry.
There you go. Is that don't repeat yourself, or is that dry as in brevity?
It's trying to. No, thank you. It's trying to put ads up.
Okay.
On the screen. Oh, and it's successfully doing so.
This is fun.
I don't need bionic legs, whatever the heck that was. But I was trying to scan through the video a little bit more. I was looking to try to see if it offered a what do you call it? VR headset. What do you call the imagery there? The 2-eye shift thing.
Oh, okay.
Like a stereoscopic vision thing would be really cool. I'm asking for too much. We've sent and this is not a picture of the rover, by the way. This is like Wall-E just popped up in the next article. This is not what I'm talking about.
No.
We've sent a rover to another planet, and it's sending back images to, through space to our planet to stream on our global internet network on YouTube. And I'm complaining it's not going to work in my VR headset. Shame on me.
Yeah.
All right. OpenAI GPT-3 might be the biggest thing since Bitcoin. Oh, great. That's what we need. Another buzzword.
Yeah. So the thing about this article, which is rather clever, is this is an example of what's possible using OpenAI's language prediction model. And in fact, if you read through the first few paragraphs, it looks like a human, has actually written this, but it actually turns out that what is being written about here was generated by OpenAI's GPT-3 modeling. So if we scroll down a little bit, it says a little bit further. It says near here, it says, now for the fun part, I have a confession. I did not write the above article. So that was generated based on a variety of inputs that were utilized as part of the model, copied from the website's homepage. So what this is showing is the evolution and the progress that groups like OpenAI are making around providing these sorts of models for generating text like this. And so there obviously are some limitations in terms of what this can do, but language models like GPT are becoming very, very good, given a variety of outputs, for generating this sort of stuff. And so these are basically learning algorithms that are able to be trained and then generate output like the article you see described. So it's a bit of a gotcha, but at the same time, it's actually a clever gotcha because it's showing you the progress that's being made by groups like OpenAI. OpenAI is a group based, I think, they're in San Francisco. They're around AI research, and they're making a lot of great progress around the practical applications of AIs of AI around aspects of like images. I believe they were trying to utilize it to solve the Rubik's Cube at one point using a robotic hand. So there's lots of things that they're doing with it. So yeah, definitely clever stuff.
So, do you think the fun part, I have a confession, I didn't write the above article, is part of the AI, or is it the author? I'm being sarcastic here.
Yeah.
It'd
Well,
be
at the end of the day, it
funny
doesn't
if
matter. I mean, maybe it's achieved its own
self-awareness. It's like,
self-awareness.
hey, I'm getting credit for this article I wrote. The author of this article was not, in fact, the author, but it was me, the AI.
Right.
No, I think it's obvious the author wrote that. I'm being silly, but if I were the author, I think I would have kept this under wraps and like produced a bunch of content and sold it first. Then I'm sure if you're smart enough to write an AI like this, then you can make legit money. But
So the reason why this came up is because GPT-3 recently was, I think, articulated just earlier this year. GPT stands for generative pre-trained or pre-something transformer. Basically, it's a way of it's a modeler for languages, and the previous version of it was GPT-2, and that was announced, I think, last year. It was actually pretty impressive. There were definitely some sentences you could see that was like, it's kind of weird. It reads weird, but now GPT-3 is available, and it can generate a lot of really interesting outputs based on its training. And they're doing some really interesting work with this. So, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I know that people are concerned about what implications this has on the future regarding things like news. Is your news generated, for example, or, attribution for article or original work, things like that. But, it's interesting to see where this is going.
Yeah, you're making me want to find. Why do I not bookmark these things when I see them? This one came across my Twitter earlier. This reminds me of it. I can't find the link to show you, but essentially they're doing natural language processing and generating React code
You're
based
right.
on. So basically, you have a website and you type in like, I want a page with a button on it that increments by threes when I click
Yeah.
it. And then it generates the React UI language to create a component that has a button that you click and it
That's one of
increments
those,
by
like,
three.
I know. It's like I think it's called dbuild.co. I don't know if that's it or not. Let me just check that link. I could be giving people a bogus link here. Let me just
Yeah,
take a look
I
at this.
actually can find this on my Twitter feed. I believe I commented on this earlier in the week,
Yeah.
but this is starting to remind me.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah, because
dbuild.co. It's a GPT-3 code generator. And
yeah. So
I think they put a sign up page in front of it, but
I'll give
quite
credit
clever.
to where I saw it here. So this is the person I saw tweet the code generator here, and
Okay.
it's a little demo of how it works here. So a button that says add $3 and a button that says withdraw 5, then show me my balance, and he clicks generate. And it takes a little bit here because it's, AI trying to process natural language into literal
Oh, wow.
code. And then you get a React app that has an add $3 and withdraw $5 behavior. So I had joked about this ages ago, and I just didn't have the brains to execute on it. But when all of the voice recognition Siri stuff and Cortana stuff was coming out,
Right.
I said, this is the tool we need. You just like talk to it and say, "Hey Siri, build me an app," or I need a new Angular application, and it goes to your command line and runs all the Angular CLI messages to get your app up and running.
God help us.
So yeah,
This is not gonna end well. The fact that we can't even get this to work in other contexts, like with a visual designer or whatnot. The last thing I want is a computer writing my apps. But who knows?
Looks like we have a sign up page if anybody
Yeah,
wants to try that out.
they've put a sign up. I don't know if this is legit or not, but there you go.
I will drop that.
Good.
So drop that in chat. You sign up there, and it probably connects you with a call center and some other place, and you type it in, and some poor guys back there or person is back there just coding their heart out to try to turn this as quick as possible.
There you go.
It's like fake AI. No, it's a real thing that people are tinkering with. It's kind of cool. So what is this last? Here, Simpsons against DevOps.
Yeah. So this is basically DevOps themed memes using cutouts from the show The Simpsons. And it's quite funny, actually, some of the tweets that they've put out. So basically, these are sort of jokes that you have in the DevOps space. This account crossed my path a little bit ago, like maybe a few weeks ago, and I started following it, and it's pretty funny, actually. Some of the memes. So you have to click on the images. They're actually comic book strip memes. So yeah, they're quite clever. If folks who are listening to this, you'll have to go to the Twitter account DevOps Simpsons, I think it is, or Simpsons Against DevOps.
The visuals help a lot.
Oh, Simpsons Ops, excuse me. Yeah, and so they basically have these comic book ones. So the Truth Hurts one is quite funny. This one is, yeah. So watch this, Lisa. You can actually pinpoint the second when he wipes the production database, and now. So quite good. And if you watch The Simpsons, if you're older like Ed and myself, these will definitely trigger a few memories.
Yeah, this show I think is just gonna be one of those institutions, kind of like Saturday Night Live, that just never goes away, no matter how good or bad it gets. This has been through some swings over the last few years.
Yep.
Recently, it's been pretty decent, but
yeah. So if you're looking for a good laugh and you're in the SRE space or DevOps space or whatnot, this is a good one to follow. I think it's quite funny.
For sure. Well, that's all we've got for this week, folks. You can catch us on the show, same time, same place next week, but all week long. We have lots of content coming for the Code It Live channel here on Twitch. We've got Sam Basu, who does a couple podcast type shows during the week. We've got some coding shows. we've got Alyssa Nycol and TJ Vansel that come on and do some live coding during the week. And Alyssa was on here doing some really interesting CSS work last week she was making like a CSS based temperature thermostat output or something like that that looked really, really sharp.
Nice.
So come on and watch her, live code those things. It's really a lot of fun. We've got our schedule posted down at the bottom. If you want to scroll down, you can catch some of these folks during the week.
Awesome.
We've got our full schedule posted here. We've got content every day of the week, different times of the day, depending on which day of the week you're on. We've got React and Xamarin and CSS and talk shows and the whole 9 yards. So join us here throughout the rest of the week. And John, thanks again for joining me on the show. And we'll see you
Cheers.
soon.
All right.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.